guys, it's July 29th, 2024, and I hope everybody had a great weekend this past weekend. Unfortunately, today I am downstairs filming today's video because it is pouring raining outside. I actually tried to go out there and sit on my back porch, my front porch to film, but the rain is so bad. I mean, there's no way you guys could have heard me talking. I didn't want to have all that noise in the background. I was going to wait a little bit to film today's video, but I decided just to go ahead and do it now. It's supposed to rain all day. I don't like filming down here just because of the echo, but it's going to be a lot better than filming outside and hearing all that background noise from the rain. So it is what it is for today. Sorry you guys don't get to see the trees and everything. I know it's nice to look at that, but I figured I'd just go ahead and do this today down here. Today I want to talk about high functioning alcoholics, and you know, this is something that I was for a very long time, and I want to talk about like some signs of a high functioning alcoholic. You know, I was a high functioning alcoholic for years, and now towards the end of my drinking, it completely got out of control, and I was not a high functioning alcoholic any longer. My drinking had gotten to the point to where you know, I wasn't even bathing like I should have been. My hygiene had gone to the wayside. I just wasn't taking care of myself the way that I should have been. But you know, drinking was my life, and that's all I cared about. And you know, I've talked about this, but often I was so hungover that morning, I would just lay in my bed and drink. You know, I'd wake up and start drinking and lay in the bed all day long. And there were days where I wouldn't even brush my teeth because I was so hungover, and I just, you know, even putting the toothbrush in my mouth would make me gag. And I'm sure there's some of you out there who know what I'm talking about. But you know, when you're that nauseous and you're trying to brush your teeth, you know, it can cause a gag reflex, and you know, it's horrible. But I just wasn't taking care of myself back then. And my drinking had gotten so far out of control. There were so many times that, you know, and I've spoken about this, but I owned my own business. I was a chef for years. For 26 years I was in the restaurant industry, and then I started my own business. And when I left my job thinking that, you know, running away from my problems was going to solve them, started my own business. Well, that did not do anything but create even more problems for me, because I was working, you know, at my own schedule, doing my own thing, and you know, if there was a day where I was hungover and I didn't want to go to work, I just didn't go. I would call my client and say I can't make it today. There was always an excuse, and I would spend the whole day just drinking. You know, thinking back on those days, you know, it just makes me really sad, you know, to think about how bad my drinking had gotten at that point. But today I want to talk about you know, a functional alcoholic, and you know, what to look for. You know, you might have a loved one that you think might be a functional alcoholic, or you know, a coworker, a friend, or something like that, and you're starting to see some signs that you think that they might be drinking a little bit too much. And that's what I want to talk about today. So first, the first thing on this list is avoiding any critical input or feedback about their drinking problems. And this is something that, you know, if anybody ever tried to talk to me about my drinking, I got really defensive really fast. And, you know, the first thing I would do was say, I don't have a problem. You know, I can stop whenever I want. And, you know, that wasn't the case. I was lying to myself more than anybody else. Blacking out from alcohol consumption. I've spoken about this, something I did every single day. I blacked out every single night. And when I would wake up every morning, you know, there was always that, you know, that question of what happened the night before. My wife would often be upset, and then I'd have to ask her, okay, what happened last night? And then, you know, I mean, she could have told me I did anything, and I would have believed it, because I had no recollection of what had happened. The next one is concealing how much alcohol is consumed, such as drinking before or after an event, sneaking alcohol when at an event where alcohol isn't served, drinking by yourself, or hiding alcohol around the house. And I've spoken about this. I did all of that. I drank any time before I went to anything, and you know, we would call that pre-gaming. But you know, if there was something I had to go to, you know, some kind of like, you know, we were going over to a friend's house or something, I would get drunk before I went, because you know, I didn't want people to see how much I was actually drinking. So I wanted to be intoxicated before I got there. That way I could just kind of glide while I was there. Not to mention, I've spoken about this as well, but I would always have mini bottles on me, a flask on me. They were always had liquor stashed. That way that I could drink in private. I could go to the bathroom and take a shot or whatever, because I did not want people to see the amount of alcohol that I was drinking, because I was embarrassed about my consumption. And I drank by myself all the time. Towards the end of my drinking, that's all I ever did was drink by myself. And I always drank at home. I mean, that's all I did. Continuing to drink, even if it has caused or worsened physical or mental health problems, well, I was feeling horrible for a few years. And I knew that it was the drinking that was causing that, but I continued to drink, knowing that it was causing me all kinds of problems, and I just kept doing it. Not only was it causing me physical health issues, but mentally I was in a really bad place. And I continued to drink. I tried to stop tons of times, but it just never worked out for me. The next one is denial of a drinking problem because of a lack of severe consequences, such as missing days or showing up late for work, school or work. And, this is something that I would often say. Anytime that my wife would come to me or somebody would come to me and say, your drinking is out of control, you have a problem, I would say, no, I'm not. I go to work every single day. I'm never late. I don't call off, because I didn't call off work back then. It didn't matter how hungover I was. I still went to work. It didn't matter how bad I felt. It didn't matter what was wrong. I still went to work every single day. And that was my excuse. And I think that I pushed myself. Even on the days when I was like extremely ill, if I was like really sick, I had something like pneumonia or something like that, I would still go to work, because there was this idea of, I don't miss. I never miss work. So that was my excuse to continue to drink, because I would just, use that as leverage. I've never missed work. I always go to work. I've always had a job. I'm paying the bills. I'm not wasting all of our money. Those were my excuses. The next one is not fitting a predetermined image of an alcoholic, such as being able to maintain a well-groomed appearance. This is something that I did. I made sure that I looked good every day. I shaved. My beard was always trimmed. I was always taking care of myself. I always wore clean clothes. My clothes were always ironed. I had a clean appearance. I was well groomed. And, there's this idea, or I had the idea, that as long as I look good, I don't look like I'm homeless or something like that. So what does it matter? I obviously am taking care of myself, so I don't have a problem. Drinking a large amount of alcohol and not appearing intoxicated, man. People used to look at me with the amount of alcohol I would drink, like people, especially people that knew me well, people that I would hang around with. If somebody came over to the house and hung out with me for a day, they would watch me mix my drinks. And, I would hear this often, if I drank that much, I would be unconscious, and I would hear that so often. And, like my first liquor drink of the day, for most people, would probably give them alcohol poisoning, because I drank that much, and I drank all day, and you probably wouldn't have known, unless you were really close to me, that I was drinking. Drinking at lunchtime during work or during breaks. I've spoken about this, but I used to do that all the time. I always found a reason to have to go to the store. When I was a chef, there was always, I always had an excuse. Oh, I need to go get more squash. We're out of onions, so I've got to go to the store. I went to the store every single day. And looking back on it now, who was I fooling? I wonder now, did they know what I was doing when I left? Because I know that I reeked of booze when I would come back, but nobody ever said anything to me. Which goes back to that, a couple of the things back, talking about, your appearance and, performing your duties at work and all that kind of stuff. I was always an overachiever. I always went above and beyond. I never said no to anything. And I think I did that because I was trying to protect my drinking. As long as I always went above and beyond, what could they say to me? because I always did. Anytime that my boss would ask me for something, it was always yes, sir, or yes, ma'am. I just did it. I never said no. And a lot of the things that would get asked of me were kind of ridiculous, but I just never said anything because I knew that if I did those things, that I was protecting myself because, you know, it's kind of hard to find someone that's gonna say yes to everything like that. And I always was a yes man. Even if I didn't agree with it and I thought it was wrong, I just went ahead and did it because I was trying to protect my drinking. And I knew that if I, you know, was this stellar employee, that even if I did screw up and somebody smelt it on me, that I knew they'd probably give me another chance. And, you know, I did that for years. And often on breaks or whatever, you know, anytime I had an opportunity to sneak away and drink, I did. I had an office because I worked in an old mansion. My office was up on the 4th floor of the mansion, and I would go up there. I had liquor stashed up there. I would go up there and, you know, drink in my office. I'd close the door, say I had to do paperwork, and I'd be up there drinking. I'd go to the bathroom, have a drink. I'd go to the walk-in freezer, have drinks. I'd walk off to the croquet field or off in the woods and have drinks. I'd go sit in my car and have drinks. I'd go to the store and have drinks. Just go to the bank and I would drink. I mean, it's just anything. And there was always an excuse. You know, looking back, I just always had an excuse to leave. And, you know, now I'm sure that they probably knew just looking back on it. Drinking in situations that can be dangerous, such as before driving. I did that all the time. I'd drink and get on my tractor and almost flipped it over a couple times. You know, I would drink and drive, not that often, but I did. I would drink and ride my motorcycle, and I dropped my motorcycle a bunch of times after I'd been drinking, just being ridiculous. And, you know, a lot of us do these types of things as well. This is a big one right here. Drinking as a reward for doing a good job or to cope with stressful situations. I had an excuse for everything. It did not matter. If it was raining, I drank because of that. If it was snowing, I drank because it was snowing. If I had a good day, I drank because it was a good day. If I had a bad day, I drank because it was a bad day. If it was my birthday, I drank because it was my birthday. If it was my kid's birthday, I had to drink because it was their birthday. If it was a holiday, I drank because it was their holiday. It didn't matter what it was. I always had an excuse and a reason to drink all the time, you know, and just thinking back on it now, just all the excuses that I had. You know, my wife would say, I really don't want you to drink today. Well, you know, I had such a good day at work yesterday, so I'm drinking. Or I got a bonus check, so I need to drink. Or whatever it is. I just always had an excuse to drink. Always. So if you have somebody in your life that's continually making excuses for their consumption, no matter what it is, they just always have a reason. It's a really telltale sign right there. Drinking excessively when not abstaining but not indulging regularly, or you rationalize it because you can go for long periods without drinking at all. The next one is experiencing cravings, i.e. a strong urge or need to drink in specific situations. I always had cravings. Always. You know, and I've spoken about this too, but, you know, the constant looking at the clock, especially when it was about time to get off work. You know, if I had told my guys, I'm leaving at 4 o'clock today because I've got, and I would always have an excuse to, you know, there were days when I just wanted to leave early because I wanted to drink. And I would just come up with something, you know, I've got to go home because I've got a plumber coming to my house or whatever it is. And, you know, I would say, I got to be out of here by 4 o'clock. You know, I was looking at the clock over and over again or looking at my watch, you know, constantly. Okay, it's 3:45. Now it's 3:46. It seemed like the time moved so slow because I just wanted to leave to drink. And the first thing that I would do when I got in my vehicle was mix a drink before I would go anywhere. And anytime I was in my car, you best believe I had a liquor drink or a beer in there. I did not drive anywhere unless I had my kids in the car, but if I was by myself, there was always an alcoholic beverage right there at my disposal to drink. feeling guilty or ashamed about being intoxicated, or about the behaviors displayed while under the influence of alcohol. I used to feel guilty about being intoxicated all the time, especially when I would get drunk early. I would feel so guilty. I would start drinking early in the morning and tell myself, I'm just going to have these couple drinks just to get the shakes to go away. And the next thing you know, I'd look at the clock, it's 11:30, and I'm seeing double. And my whole day was ruined. And I already knew I'm going to pass out probably in an hour or so. And then I would sleep the rest of the day, wake up, and then start all over again. But the guilt that I had, it was horrible. Feeling an overwhelming urge to finish drinks, even if they are someone else's. Oh my gosh. This one right here. If we ever went to a restaurant, we really enjoy going to Mexican restaurants, or we used to. And anytime I'd go to the Mexican restaurant, I would always order one of those big 32-ounce beers. You know, the one that comes in the mug. It's like that big. I would always get one of those. And then I would order shots of tequila. The beer was just basically like my water. I had to have some kind of beverage to drink while I was eating. But I would take shots while we were at the restaurant. And I'd order 5-6 shots while we were there. But before we would leave, I would, if I was there having lunch with my wife, let's say, and or let's say that I went with my wife and we had dinner, and it was just the two of us, and I ordered myself one of those big beers, and I ordered a few shots. My wife always got upset when I did that too, but I did it anyway, and I always had the excuse, it's our night out, I just want to enjoy myself. As she sat there and got upset at me and said, I just don't want you drinking liquor tonight, but I would do it anyway. I would have my shots, drink my beer, and I'd always get about halfway done with it or something. I'd eat a little bit of food, and my wife might have a margarita or something. Before we would get up to leave, I could not leave that table without finishing that beer and whatever was left in her cup. I always had to finish what was left on the table before we could go. I did not waste alcohol. And, now, like if I go to a restaurant or something and I see somebody with a beer or something like that, often I see them, they'll leave half of it there. And that's something I never could do. Never. It had to be finished. Every last drop. It did not matter. Handling responsibilities well at home, school, and work in spite of drinking. I did all that. I did a really good job at work. I was always praised for how good of a job that I did, and I always used that as an excuse. My whole excuse was, I've never gotten in trouble at work. I'm always getting bonus checks because I'm doing such a good job, and raises or whatnot. I never was fired, so I don't have a problem, and that's what I always told myself, or I tell my wife or my family. I haven't lost my job because of this. Nobody's ever said anything to me about it, so it's not a problem. Hiding alcohol consumption from coworkers, classmates, or family members. Well, I did that all the time. I hid my consumption from everybody. And I'm sure that a lot of you out there can relate to that as well. Justifying drinking as not problematic if the alcohol is top shelf or consumed at upscale events. Man, I used to do that too, I'd say something like, look, I'm drinking Grey Goose. This stuff's like $50 a bottle. And, I don't have a problem. I'm not drinking that bottom of the barrel stuff. But guess what happened towards the end of my alcoholism? I was drinking that bottom shelf stuff. Because at that point, I didn't even care anymore. I was drinking so much alcohol at that point that I was like, what's the point in buying the expensive stuff now? Because if I'm doing that, I'm going to spend $100 a day. I can get a whole half gallon for $15. Yeah, it's going to make me feel worse the next day, but who cares? All I cared about was just getting intoxicated. So I just drank whatever was, what was the cheapest. And I knew I had a serious problem when I was doing that, but I just continued to keep going. Lying to yourself and or others about how much you are drinking and how strong your drinks are. Well, did that all the time too. I would walk around with one of those big stainless steel tumblers, one of the big 32-ounce ones, and 75% of it was liquor in there. But nobody could see what I was doing because I would mix my drinks away from everyone else. I would have my liquor stashed in the cabinet, and I would get it out and mix it. I would just walk back out. Let's say I had friends over. You know, I'd say, I'll be right back. I'd come inside and make myself my huge drink that probably had like a pint and a half of liquor in it. And then I'd come back outside and pretend like everything was normal. Like, you know, I didn't tell anybody. I just made myself another drink, how much was in it or anything. And nobody really knew what I was doing. I'm sure they probably knew after I, you know, was slurring my words and my eyes were crossed. But most people knew. And I thought I was fooling everybody. I wasn't fooling anybody but myself. Making comparisons to people who have experienced worse problems with drinking or severe consequences to show that your drinking isn't that bad. I used to have a next door neighbor that was a serious alcoholic and had drug problems too. And I would always use him as an example and say, I'm nowhere near as bad as him. So I do not have a problem. The guy was a school teacher, and he ended up getting a divorce from his wife, losing his job at the school because he showed up to work to school intoxicated, and he just went downhill really bad. The guy was a heroin addict. Things got really bad for that guy, and I mean really, really bad. The police were over there almost every single day because him and his girlfriend were always fighting. There were always people over there. They were scrapping metal and all kinds of stuff. You'd hear them at 3 o'clock in the morning scrapping metal in the garage. I remember one time they pulled up with an old boat trailer with a boat on it and a whole bunch of like generators and all kinds. The stuff was obviously all stolen, but they took all the stuff off, took the boat off, took all the stuff. I guess they sold that, and then they took the boat trailer. And I heard them out there for like 3 nights, sawing this thing apart. I guess so that nobody knew what it was, but they cut all the aluminum up and then took it and I guess scrapped it. But this is the kind of stuff that was going on over there. They'd be shooting guns in the middle of the night and stuff, and I would often say, I am nowhere near as bad as this guy right here. I mean, look at his life and look at mine. I have my life under control, and that's I would compare myself to people that were way worse off than me, and use that as an example to say that my life was just honky-dory, and it really was not. Not seeing excessive drinking, which may cause physiological distress, as a significant problem in performing tasks of daily life. My drinking affected every single aspect of my life. Every single aspect. And I just turned a blind eye to it and pretended like it wasn't there. Obsessing over when you can attain your next drink. Oh my gosh. I did this every single day. All day long. The excessive thoughts about when I could get another drink. The excessive thoughts about when am I going to be able to get to the liquor store because they close at 7 o'clock. And if I don't get there before 7, I'm going to miss out on having my liquor. I have to get to that store. The anxiety that I would have before I had gotten to that liquor store to get my drink, to get my bottle, so I was good for that night. The anxiety that I would have because I was so fearful of driving because I felt so horrible, and I would be so anxious, but I had to get to that liquor store to get my alcohol, especially like on my day off, because the night before my day off is when I really, really went ham on it and drank super, super heavy. And then the next morning I would wake up so hungover and my anxiety level would be through the roof, but I would have to make a point to go ahead and get to that liquor store. And most of the time I was still drunk when I woke up, and would drive to a liquor store with this massive anxiety and could barely get there, but I just had to get there and get it because I couldn't stop thinking about I needed my liquor. And like I was saying in the beginning of this video, you know, that constantly looking at your watch and you know, just like, how much longer until I get another drink? How much longer? I've got to get my drink. And that's all I ever thought about. My mind was completely consumed with thoughts of drinking. That's all my life revolved around, was alcohol. Every single aspect of it was alcohol. Trying to control how much you drink. I did that. I've spoken about this. I would go to the store and tell myself, I'm only going to drink 2 pints today. So instead of getting a big half gallon, I would just buy 2 pints. And I would tell myself, okay, I'm gonna have 1 pint, you know, at this time, and I'm gonna have the other pint at this other time. Or I would tell myself I'm gonna buy 2 pints, 1 pint's for tonight and the other pint's for tomorrow, and I'm not going to the liquor store tomorrow. Who was I fooling? I would come home, drink both those pints, I'd be back at the store within an hour. Or I would tell myself, I'm only gonna drink beer. You know, I tell my wife, I'm gonna stop drinking liquor. I'm only gonna drink beer now. You know, this constant, like, you know, making agreements with yourself or others, and at the end of the day, we're just fooling ourselves. It just never works out. Remaining well known for doing an exceptional job at work or in a school despite excessive alcohol use, which may or may not cause problems in other areas psychologically. And I just spoke about this earlier on here. You know, I always performed very well at work. I was always an overachiever. And that was always my excuse for my consumption. You know, it was always this idea that I did a great job, so I don't have a problem. You know, people that are alcoholics don't, or have AUD, don't show up to work and do a good job. You know, they stay drunk all day long. People that are in that position are homeless, or, you know, whatever it may be. I just had this idea like that, and that wasn't the case. I had a serious problem, and I was too afraid to ask for help. And I was continually lying to myself and fooling myself, even though in the back of my head, I think I knew the whole time that I had a serious problem. I do. And because, you know, I tried stopping multiple times and it just never worked out. And each time that I would try to quit and, you know, I would relapse again, you know, I would tell myself, okay, next time it's going to work out. But I still don't have a problem. Or I was lying to others about it, and it just never was the case. But, you know, once again, if you have a friend or a family member, you know, and you know, they fit, you know, 75% of these signs that I listed off today, that might be the case. You know, were you a high-functioning alcoholic or a functioning alcoholic? I'd like to hear about it in the comments. Let me know. Is there something that I missed on this list today? I'm sure there is. And I'd like to hear what you guys have to add to this today, to this discussion. Because I think a lot of us end up being high-functioning or functioning alcoholics or functioning with AUD. You know, we go on for years and we tell ourselves that, you know, everything's working out, we're paying the bills, you know, we're cleaning our house, we're getting our day-to-day activities done, and we're taking care of our children, we're taking care of our family, you know, we're doing all the things that we're supposed to be doing. We're not missing out on work, all these types of things. We make these excuses and lie to ourselves and say, well, all this other stuff's being taken care of, so I don't have a problem. And, you know, in the back of our mind that we know that we actually really do. So, once again, I'd love to hear if you guys have anything else to add to this discussion that I missed on today's video, because I'm sure there is. And thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of this video today. If you stuck around, we are probably going to hit 9,000 subscribers on this channel today. It's mind-boggling how fast this channel has grown. I just want to say thank you so much to all the new subscribers here to this channel, and thank you to all the people that have been here for a long time. I can't thank you guys enough. Thank you so much for all of your continued support for this channel. I really do appreciate it. I make these videos every single day, you know, just to spread awareness and knowledge about, you know, alcohol addiction and the, you know, the illnesses that you can get from it. Because, you know, like I said, I did not think that I could end up with cirrhosis at 42 years old. I thought that's something that older people got. And I want people to be aware that you can get very ill from alcohol. And you do not have to be old in order for it to happen. And I just want to help people to avoid having to walk in the same shoes that I walk in every day, because it's avoidable and you do not have to end up with this disease. If you stop soon enough, you can avoid ending up with cirrhosis and pancreatitis and all these issues. Because, you know, like just a few minutes ago, I just got a phone call from a debt collector telling me that, you know, we need you to pay these bills. And I'm like, well, I just don't have it right now. And, you know, the medical bills just keep coming. And I don't want anybody else to have to deal with this stuff, because, you know, not only does it take up all your time, but it takes up your money. And, you know, just dealing with health problems because of alcohol, it's just not something that you want to have to deal with. I promise you that you don't. And for all of you guys that are out there right now that are on your sober journey, no matter how much time you got under your belt, I'm so proud of you for where you are. Every single day on this channel, I see so many people, especially new people, coming on here and saying, You know, I've got 3 weeks, 2 weeks, a year, 2 years, whatever it is. Congratulations on your sobriety. You're doing a great job. It's not easy, but one day at a time, and together, all of us together, you know, being able to lean on each other is the way for us to continue to stay sober and stay on this journey. Because together we can be so much stronger, especially when we're struggling. It makes it so much easier to be able to talk to somebody that can relate to your situation. You know, often, you know, you might speak to like a counselor or something like that. They might not have a problem, or they didn't have a problem in the past. But when you're speaking to somebody that actually has been through the same things as you, it's just so much easier to talk to those people. And that's why, you know, on this channel, so many people are on here speaking with each other, sharing their experiences, and it makes us feel just not so alone. Because for so many years, I thought I'm the only one who drinks in this manner. And since I started this channel, there are so many other people that were drinking the same way or worse than I was. And I was very, very, very bad in the amount of drinking that I did. But it's comforting to know that we're not alone, and that we can share with each other, and especially help prop each other up when we're having a bad time, struggling really hard. But once again, guys, thank you so much for everybody that's here. I love you guys so much. You guys are so awesome. And until tomorrow, I will see y'all then. You guys have a great day.